Good afternoon, good morning, everybody. My name is Scott Newman. I am the Microsoft Cloud Solutions Sales Professional that goes over Office 365 E5 and all advanced technologies. So every day I spend in the Office 365 marketplace making sure that I know everything that's going on, any new updates, and that's primarily what I'll be covering today. So just a little bit of terms and an agenda. I'll be going over just a brief overview of the Office 365 core features, what those entail, and then moving right along to Office 365 and the E5 suite. Now, I will say primarily the audience for this webinar are for those users who are familiar with the Office 365 offerings, particularly E3, and those that are looking for more advanced features security-wise and telephony-wise. Office 365 as principle is founded as productivity suite from Microsoft and envelops these four main components. We have Office 365 ProPlus, we have Skype for Business, SharePoint Online, and Exchange Online. Each one offers tremendous value when it comes to providing collaboration. From Office 365 ProPlus, you have your standard installable copies of Office that we're all familiar with, brought through into the 21st century in a streamlined delivery that allows updates from Microsoft on a monthly basis. Skype for Business, you have instant messaging, collaboration, screen sharing, and further in this conversation today, the PBX solution, really completing the circle on everything that's available. You have SharePoint, document storage and governance for your organization, allowing you to control an intranet for you, utilizing SharePoint Online, and then expanding out to OneDrive for Business. Very valuable. And then finally, quite possibly one of the most utilized functions in Office 365, you have Exchange Online. Part of Microsoft's play, they have over 60% of the world's email is managed by Microsoft services at any given time, and Exchange Online plays the leader in that space. Of course, these services are backed by a 99.9 financially backed SLA. They come with 24/7 IT pro support and redundancies built along regional data centers. Some are publicized, some are not, for the security of your information. Now, with Office 365, the goal is to create one copy of Office for all of your devices. You want to have the same experience, whether you are, as you can see on my screen, whether you are viewing it from a Mac, from a PC, a Surface, an iOS device, or an Android device. So you have one seamless experience. And having Office 365 as that backbone allows them to deliver the updates across all the platforms so that everything maintains its continuity. The cornerstones, it's one place for everything. With OneDrive for Business, it allows you to store your documents, again, in a way that allows real-time collaboration, enterprise-grade security, and over 1 terabyte of storage available for each individual users to utilize for their document storage on their everyday business, helping alleviate some of those extraneous costs that may be associated with, for instance, shared drives, commonly found in organizations. Allows this to alleviate that. Anytime, anywhere access. That's one of the highlights of it. It's gradually over the course, it allows you to synchronize that information to your end machines and to your devices as needed, so you can always have that information available to you. Real-time collaboration, bringing you native Office integration, co-authoring and versioning. Social conversations, so with Skype, it allows you to actually carry on a conversation as you're editing a document live, so you can ask your coworker why they made that edit down a couple paragraphs more you just were working. And of course, you have your enterprise-grade security. Because Microsoft values both your spend and your investment in them. So by them continuously developing its enterprise-grade security and its compliance, the design, it helps really, elevate your solution, providing it a complete grade. Now, I've just covered the core features about Office 365. Again, namely the E3 variant. And now I'm going to jump into the E5 value. With E5, it introduces 3 pillars of value to the Office 365 platform. We have our pillar of security. Underneath it, you see we have 4 products. One of them was introduced as of June 1st. Analytics, with highlighting 2 products, Power BI Pro and Delve Ori Analytics. And then the third one, kind of highlighting our conversation today, with its recent developments, we have our voice component. Complete cloud communication. Ultimately, wrapping all these features into one deliverable product, streamlining your approach, streamlining your organization in a way that makes it easier to manage, easier to implement, and it makes it easy to see how your organization is utilizing your resources. I'm going to touch on security first. With security, a number of organizations are encountering security threats, and they're increasing every year. With E5, Microsoft offers advanced enterprise protection to reduce your risk. We handle the security so you don't necessarily have to. It protects your data of your endpoints through sensors in the data center. It detects threats from targeted signals, behavioral monitoring, and machine learning, and allows it to respond quickly, closing the gap between discovery and action. An example of this was Microsoft was recently in the news over the last couple months. They had a piece of malware, ransomware, actually, as I think we've all heard in the news today. A piece of ransomware got to Office 365, and through its network and machine learning, it was able to identify it and patch its internal systems within hours of detection. And as I said earlier, with Microsoft being, having in contact and kind of running 60% of the world's email, it pretty much nullified that variant of that edition of ransomware. Pretty amazing at what it's able to do. So as you go through this security, another big thing is, detecting, enhanced visibility into your environment, maintaining control of your data in the cloud even when your service needs to make changes and respond to security incidences, simplifying your discovery process. All of that is very, very important. And with that, I'm going to highlight a couple of those features today. So we have 4 major features for security. I have advanced threat protection, advanced security management, customer lockbox, and advanced e-discovery. Advanced threat protection is pretty much the content leader in this space. And what it is, besides letting you read the slide that you have in front of you, it is a second gateway into your environment through your email infrastructure. So it layers on top of Exchange Online Protection, which every tenant that utilizes Exchange and Office 365 gets the benefit of, and operates as a second gateway. You can think of this security system as a 2-step gate system, where the first gate is Exchange Online Protection. It protects you against all known viruses and malware. In essence, you have a door gentleman who's looking at a list as emails get inside and as they come into the organization. It'll scan it, say, nope, you're not on the list of bad guys, you're not on the list of bad guys, go on through. Advanced threat protection takes up residence at the second gate, and it looks through every single email going, okay, you have a package, friend. I need you to open it up, and I need you to open it up and activate it. In essence, doing similar to the way we used to travel with laptops back in the early 90s, back when laptops were brand new. You actually have to turn on your machine. In the exact same way, Advanced Threat Protection makes the attachment activate anything that's inside its attachment, whether it's a Visual Basic script, a macro in Excel or Word, an executable file, it activates it. If it detects, the document or attachment starts doing anything malicious, it self-detonates this object. And per your configuration, we'll send a notification to the user saying, we're sorry, we can't, this attachment has been blocked. Now, in addition to those protections, which at that point you've already saved yourself from being ransomed, and to be honest, when hearing our FBI from the United States say that ransomware victims, you just need to pay it because there's nothing we can do about that, that doesn't necessarily put a lot of security and peace of mind in my personal opinion, but it really goes a long way when this type of threat is directly created to address those, alleviating that need to worry. Another feature of this is URL rewrite. It's gotten malicious, people have gotten malicious enough where they're able to rewrite the link that's in an email that's already been sent after it's delivered. So when it goes through your email inbox in your primary scan filter, it'll say Microsoft.com or PCM.com. But 30 minutes later, it can change to a site that looks awfully familiar and ends up phishing information from you. This technology rewrites that URL so that it creates a transparent conduit through Office 365 so that at the time of click, it will vet the link, protecting you against anything that's malicious like that. And you get a screen very similar to the one you see in the upper right-hand corner. Now, that covers advanced threat protection. I'm going to move on to advanced security management. One of my new technological releases with E5, and this released on June, so this is a new feature. Remember, as I said earlier, that Office 365 is continually developing, continuing to advance, and as it does that, E5 will continue to be the leader in those functionality additions, and we can see that with advanced security management. It brings a level of security that allows you to passively detect high-risk abnormal usage, as you see there in the slide. Allows you to detect and get notifications for anomaly detections, such as impossible travel situations. So you can have Walter, who logs in every day from Dallas, Texas. He logs in from Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, pretty set in stone. And he generally transmits and receives anywhere from 250 megabytes to a gigabyte of data a week. After monitoring your environment for a while, Advanced Security Management actually knows that exists. So when 10 minutes after Walter signs off from Texas, he signs in from London, it'll throw a red flag. Or let's say Jane were to, she normally transmits anywhere from, a gigabyte to 2 gigabytes of data a week or a day, from SharePoint and OneDrive and all this stuff, and all of a sudden her data usage skyrockets through the roof and she's transmitting 10 gigabytes of data a day. Generally, those are indications where there's a high risk and there's a potential for data loss. It'll alert your IT administrator so they can address that as well. Not only that, but Advanced Security Management, through connection to your logs, can actually analyze your network traffic and help detect competing products in your environment, assisting you for detecting shadow IT. Let's face it, every organization that makes an investment in a product like Office 365 E5, it's not necessarily it's not necessarily something that is a throwaway product. It costs some money. Wouldn't you like to know and make sure that your company is safe because they're not transmitting documents via Google Drive or Dropbox? Something that you don't have the ability to secure that information so it's not leaked? Kind of a big deal. Moving on, I have Customer Lockbox. The ability to actually secure your environment, making sure that it locks it down, requiring authorization from you as the customer and the manager inside Microsoft to give authorization to a technician if that need, the need to access that data is ever needed for maintenance purposes or ticket purposes. Microsoft already publicly states that it does not mine your information for advertising purposes. So this is just another level of saying, hey, we want to be the best solution provider that exists. And we're going to offer you a variety of things all under one dashboard. And we want you to know that it's your data. And because of the extra addition of having a Microsoft manager needed to actually go through and actually say, yes, you need authorization, that's why this is included in one of the premium features. Moving on, I have Advanced eDiscovery. Ultimately, this product, eDiscovery, is already included in your E3 suite. It's already included in the add-ons to E1 or Exchange Online Plan 1 that allow you to go through the eDiscovery process. But sometimes it's necessary to cull the grain from the chaff, and the Advanced eDiscovery system allows that to work by using threat analytics, duplicate detection, and predictive coding that trains the system to identify relevant emails and documents. You can also identify it by utilizing themes and search that quickly allow you to map unstructured data by using clustering technology to identify the data relationship and simplify email reviews, ultimately reducing your legal spend for document review, which, for those of you a little unfamiliar with legal proceedings, is one of the highest costs outside of trials for legal support. Moving on, I have analytics, second pillar. Knowing your business is protected against outside threats gives you the opportunity to focus on what's going on inside your organization. Microsoft is a leader in business intelligence. It's designed and runs one of the most sophisticated database softwares on the planet. Many of you, I'm sure, probably use the SQL system, in effect. With that, Microsoft has built some easy-to-use live data monitoring tools and in-depth analysis tools into Office 365 that let you use your data and unlock stories through simple dashboards, interactive reports, and compelling visualizations. And if improving personal and team effectiveness is what you're looking for, Office 365 provides real-time work analytics at the individual and organizational level to optimize activities for the best practices and outcomes, ultimately allowing you as a business decision maker, allows you to focus on what matters to you so you can make the best possible business decisions. Ultimately, this is a leader in the Gartner's Magic Quadrant for Business Intelligence Analytics Platforms, performed in February of 2016 for the 9th consecutive year, and placed the furthest in the vision category. Ultimately, giving confirmation that Microsoft is doing what it takes to give the best solutions for its customers. Right here you see a couple examples and a little bit of the information behind the technologies in the analytics. We have Power BI, allowing you to transform your company's data into rich visuals and analytics so you can focus on what matters most. Stay in the know, spots trend to help you push your business further in easy-to-go dashboards. You no longer have to spend a week inside a myriad of Excel spreadsheets cultivating and fighting that graph that just won't display correctly on that screen. And when you get it displaying correctly, awesome. You go to the presentation, you're all ready, you're all geared up, and the monitor that you were going to present on has now changed its aspect ratio, and now your graphs are going to look funky and distorted, and it's not going to portray the vision. Even though you have reflected hours and hours of work into this, Power BI does away with that and makes it easy to use and instant, cultivated for the screen of your target. You can manage multiple data sources from QuickBooks Online, Marketo. You can use published data from Excel 2016. You can get it live from SQL services in Azure. Link it to your SQL servers on-prem. Those are some of the varieties of connection points you can make. And ultimately, when it comes, you can create dashboards for teams to utilize. So you can create a dashboard exclusively for your executive branch. So they can view their loss leaders, they can view their profits at the highest rate. They can view all that, and it's curated for the screen they're viewing at the time they pull it up. Say one of your individuals has an Apple iPhone, has the newest iPhone along with the newest Apple Watch. Apple Watch actually has a Power BI app that they can access their dashboard from. So for that CEO or for that CFO that needs to know at that minute how it's doing, they can pull it up and pull up that dashboard that you've curated as their IT administrator. Now some of that is a lot. Now moving on, I'm going to help you identify not only the analytics for the data in your organization's been gathering, but also help you understand time management. With Delve Org Analytics, it goes above and beyond the Delve Analytics component that's found in Office 365 E3 today by going above and beyond the documents that are most helpful to your other users. It allows you to see how your business is operating, what services they're using big data and behavioral analytics to reveal how the activities drive business outcomes. You discover what's the most important aspects of your day, like meetings, email, focus time, after hours. You want to make sure that your employees and your users are managing their time correctly or efficient so that they have a good work-life balance. You can see how many of your users are spending time working after hours. You can see the average response time that your HR department has. Is it 24 hours or is it down to 3 hours? You can see how much dead time there is in between meetings for your account executives who go from client to client to client and are supposed to be spending, 20 meetings a week going from client to client. You can see that their average downtime in between meetings is 10 hours as a target. And it can give you red, green, yellow indications on if they're on target or not. You can explore read rates, activity trends, and characteristics and values that you would normally have to send out a survey and wait 2 months to get back to reach 75% completion. Now, I don't know about you, but last time I was part of a survey, I think honestly, I spent about a week before I actually submitted it. Not because I wasn't interested in submitting it, but because that other stuff got in the way. Delve Org Analytics allows you to dive in instantly to that and get it in real time. Now that I've covered analytics and I've covered security, now it comes to the Cloud PBX and PSTN overview that many of you have attended here today. At the heart of great teams is great collaboration and communication. And that's a core belief that guides the communication investments in the Office 365 side of the organization. Teams that communicate often and openly are more efficient, respond better, faster, plan more efficiently, and help one another more effectively. They listen to customers and market trends. They share insights with each other. They challenge one another openly, whether it's a friendly game of who can sell the most, or it's a collaborative effort where you string together a slew of presentations and each one's responsible for a different component, and you need to share and collaborate as they're being created over the course of a week and a half, 2 weeks. We've already talked about email. We've already talked about document security, document storage and management and security. But with E5, it really brings a circle and incorporates voice, cloud communications, all under one platform. It provides one platform for meetings and voice, allowing your teams the ability to communicate easily using the right tools from the right devices at the right time. And that drives a significant cost savings. Your employees save time from switching from one system for IM to another one for web conferences and then another one for video. With Office 365, everything is integrated into one platform. Your administrators save time because they don't have to manage multiple products. You don't have multiple dashboards to manage how many minutes of conference calls did we spend. How many sessions did we have? How many calls did we have? It's all under one dashboard. Your business could potentially save millions by eliminating things like WebEx licenses, automated call bridge, per charges minutes, and PBX maintenance costs. Let's face it, most businesses that have been established for any duration of time have a PBX on-prem, most likely, that they established 5 to 10 years ago and that no one wants to touch, because if they do, it's going to be the boogeyman and scare everything and everything's going to break. This takes that away from you. The potential cost savings from these capabilities can be significant for most organizations. Ixea is just one example of a customer saving $100,000 from the use of Skype for Business Online. I'm going to go on to the features now. Now I have 3 major components for E5, and I've had some developments since the last webinar, where I gave in the spring, in reference to PSTN conferencing, some of the abilities. So going through, we offer you the capabilities you need for modern voice and meetings. Audio, video, web meetings are combined in one connected user experience and platform with high-definition video and a broad range of devices from Microsoft and partners. This helps your business consolidate conferencing solutions and simplify operations while reducing complexity for users, reducing supports for IT, and enabling employees to work from virtually anywhere. With PSTN conferencing, meeting attendees without internet or audio access on their PC can dial into Skype meetings from virtually any device. Meeting organizers can also dial out to attendees and bring them into the meeting. So for whenever you have a 3-way conference call with an account executive and 2 clients, and for some reason, you know, your client wants to have another person come in the phone, you're like, hey, you know what? Let me conference them in for you. You can press the little plus button in the upper right-hand corner, dial the number, and bring them directly in. And it's all part of the unlimited conferencing as part of the service. And no charges are incurred for calling using tolled numbers to dial into it. Not only that, but it's available in over 50 countries, with 17 being added as of September 1st. Cloud PBX, when combined with PSTN calling, is your phone system in the cloud. Modern, and tightly integrated with Office 365. Users get the voice capabilities they need to make, receive, and manage calls from anywhere using any device. Now, PSTN calling is required for true enterprise voice solutions, but it also provides flexibility so that if you are in a situation where you have outstanding contracts, for instance, you may have a SIP provider you have a long-standing contract with that you still have 2 more years left. Cloud PBX can actually operate with that SIP provider if you're not ready to move 100% to the cloud. Many businesses utilize a Cloud PBX for domestic and international calling services, and many of them with Office 365. As moving on, you have the PSTN calling, you have the variety of different services available to you. With the latest and greatest, you'd like to see where everything comes, where everything falls, and what plans are available for what. In the next slide I'm going to show you, it shows what flavors and what options come with each version of Office 365. Starting out E1 with our first enterprise offering, it gives you the business class email, work management, meeting broadcast for Skype that's brand new, allowing you a platform very similar to the one we're using today, allowing you to have up to 10,000 attendees in your webinars. E3 adds onto that the installable copies of Office applications with the Office 365 ProPlus and adding data loss prevention, encryption, archiving rights, work management. And then we have our E5 that we've been talking about so far. And we add advanced security management, e-discovery, secure attachments and URLs with advanced threat protection, access control. We have end user and organizational analytics. You have our Cloud PBX and PSTN conferencing. And then allowing you to integrate with PSTN calling, providing a true cloud solution. Now, all of this, as you see from the pricing up there, it looks like it is a pretty hefty penny depending on what option you're looking at. But let's break it down for a minute and let's look at it side by side for each one of the 7 features that you are getting with the E5 suite. Ultimately, it helps you save costs, but to be honest, I'm very visual and I'd like to see what that means. Here are all 7. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. So 7 solutions. Ultimately, if you were to piece out each one of these and go to a third party outside of Office 365, you'd be reaching approximately $90 per month per user for these solutions. Now, that's a great question, but what are they individually from Office 365? Because let's face it, not all of your users may need all of these solutions. And because Microsoft is Microsoft, and I'll be honest, sometimes they're more complicated than it can be, it helps me to see what it would break down to, because sometimes I would need 1 or 2 of these into different user groups. Here's what they come out if you were to purchase them individually. You have Cloud PBX. It ultimately drops to $41 per user standalone for each one of these features individually, which is great, but when I'm adding on to an E3 license, let's face it, that's $20, and adding on to it each one individually, that's a pretty big amount. It's only $15 per user to step up from E3 to E5, a pretty substantial cost savings. Now, when you're going through this, and as I've talked about earlier, there's many cost savings when it comes to E5. And the latest aspect, and I'm going to show out, and because I was going to focus on Cloud PBX and PSTN, I'm going to shift over to that and talk about some of the improvements that have been made through that platform by highlighting some of the features first. Each one of these SKUs produce these features right here. You have your hold, answer, simul ring, call groups, team calling, IP phones, E911 support, that's all provided through the Cloud PBX. PSTN conferencing, which simplifies your system, helps you substantially, and for an ultimate call bridge, not charging you per minute, pretty substantial. And then ultimately we have our PSTN calling plans right here where we have our phone number assignment, unlimited inbound calling, and outbound calling. Now we have two different plans with PSTN calling. You have the domestic calling plan and you have the international calling plan. Now, domestic, it includes 3,000 minutes domestically calling out. They are pooled at the tenant level, which means that if I have 10 users, all have domestic calling license, I get a total of 30,000 minutes they can use as they see fit, as long as they have a calling plan. Now, that means that I can have 3 to 5 users that are utilizing 500 to 1,500 minutes, and I can have 5 users that can be utilizing 5,000 minutes apiece. So for those of you that have situations where you have people that are regularly making hours and hours of calls every day, and you have a mixture of people that barely use a phone, this is a great situation. Now, that is the domestic calling plan. What's the international one, and how does that work? International takes the 3,000 minutes domestically that you have and adds 600 international minutes on top of that. And just like the domestic plan, those minutes are pooled as well for any user that has the international calling plan. So, for sake of argument, again, you have 10 users that have the international calling plan. They have 6,000 international minutes that are available to them, and they can divvy them up however they see fit. Now, usage billed per minute. This is brand new. This is new as of June 1st, and I haven't gone over it in a major webinar yet. PSTN consumption. PSTN consumption grants abilities above and beyond the features that are included today in the base subscriptions. As you can see here, I have a column with what the base subscription provides and a column for what the PSTN consumption edition gives you. Now, to highlight a couple of the biggest components, PSTN conferencing, quite possibly, in my opinion, one of the most valuable features of E5. Unlimited call bridge, what business couldn't use that? Now, with a call bridge, it's sometimes useful to provide a toll-free dial-in number. And previously this wasn't available because, I'll be honest, from what I remember through my Microsoft training and what I remember talking to some of the engineers about, the tax code was so complicated it was greater than reading all the Games of Thrones books all combined in one get-go, to be honest, and it's all tax code stuff. It put us all to sleep. Now, this adds, Microsoft has since straightened it out and gotten to a point where it allows toll-free dial-in at a per minute consumption charge. Now, for this feature, you bill directly to Microsoft. It is a prepaid billing model. What that means is that you pre-bill a bucket of dollars, very similar to the way many of us use a Starbucks gift card, where you pay a certain amount of money, it chips it away as I use it, and then when it's reached a low dollar mark, it refills it back up exactly the same way. Now, some of the features that this PSTN consumption adds would be like to PSTN domestic calling. Let's face it, you may have some users in your organization that, or some organizations that just don't call internationally on a regular basis. Not enough to maintain an international calling plan, and to add $12 a month on a user for incidental use, that's not necessarily cost effective in the long run. But if you have users that are, a few dozen minutes here, a couple dozen minutes there. Ultimately, I believe the break-even point is around 250 minutes, depending on the country you're calling. You can use consumption billing to actually provide that international dial-out service for those users. Pretty great at what it allows you to do. So you're not going to incur the extra costs that would normally be associated with international calling, and it provides you in a way where you can actually, see who is calling what from where. Now, the PSTN domestic international calling. Now, there are some countries that are not included in the base calling plan. There's 196 that are included. Okay, that's a lot, but I believe last time I checked, and don't quote me on this, I'm not a geography major, but I believe there's around 215 countries that are active that actually have telephone lines. Now, with that being said, that means you got 19 countries that aren't included with that international calling plan feature, and the consumption billing would allow you to call out to them as needed. I'll be honest, I think Antarctica is one of those, and I believe it's $5 per minute for the charges. If you're calling Antarctica, chances are you're reaching the National Science Foundation, and hopefully they have a better, more efficient way of you reaching them. Anyways, as it stands, your subscription billing, and as you utilize this, it really streamlines a way for incidental overages, if you go over those minutes, in a way for you to control your costs. Now, as you go through this, PSTN consumption billing isn't a buy and instantly assign to everyone feature. You can literally assign it to only the individuals you want to have the ability. So, let's say you have a collection in your department that you need to have the international options. Now, normally, you would have to assign them, again, previous to June 1st, you'd have to assign them the international number and go from there. Pardon me. With this, I can say, okay, I need these 3 individuals for marketing the ability to dial internationally. No one else needs that ability, even incidentally. So what you can do is you can assign PSTN consumption billing to those 3 users. So they are able to dial out and utilize that consumption billing as needed. Pretty amazing stuff with the flexibility. Now when it comes down to it, how do you set up and manage it? To be honest, it's very easy. You select your prepaid balance amount, just like I was describing with a Starbucks gift card, and you set your minimum balance threshold. And so basically, in essence, replenishes it. Customer funds are prepaid directly to the Office 365 portal, as opposed to buying on a CPS for those of you in volume licensing agreements. And one thing to highlight, it is critical to establish replenishment amounts, as if you were to use this service, and it does trickle down, that when the balance reaches 0 and a user were to try to utilize one of these functions, the service would become unavailable for them. So that is a critical component. Now, one thing to highlight is that the fund of prepaid balance will be valid from 1 year of its deposit and every subsequent deposit. So funds are deposited in June, they're good till June of the next year unless they're replenished. If they're replenished in January, 7 months later, then they're good till January the following year. Wash, rinse, repeat. Billing reported, the consumption billing charges will appear as line items on an EA invoice, and of course, like most of the features inside Office 365, there are reports and logs that you can look at. Now, the consumption rates per minute, that's a general question that I get from many individuals. They are available through Microsoft's website in a live format. Now keep in mind, consumption charges are subject to change on a month-to-month basis. I have been monitoring the consumption sheet over the last several months since the introduction, and I've seen two small price changes. I believe it was a cent and a fraction of a cent on the changes that were there. Nothing major, but with the way the world is and different fluctuations of different currencies and different components, I'm sure we can understand why that cannot be locked in. Now, for those of you wanting to see a scenario on how it actually works, here is a consumption billing scenario. And you can see here, I have outbound international minutes. They're available each month. I have outbound international minutes utilized, overage charges per month, and I see a net balance. And I can see right here in June, when the fund goes below $20, that was the watermark, and it recharged another $50 onto that. And for those of you that like a little bit more visual, here's an additional way to look at it. Hitting the balance threshold triggers replenishment, ultimately solving it. Now, with that in mind, and that kind of completes my overview of the PSTN calling and Cloud PBX components. I appreciate your time today, and now I will take some questions.
Thank you so much, Scott. That was a perfect, wonderful presentation. We have got a few questions lined up. So the first question we have from Bob Hunt. How do we manage porting of the main number? Can we keep our current 2-digit extensions? How do we figure the auto-attended ring group?
Those are excellent questions, Bob. I will be honest, many of those would be ones we would go over with one of my engineers on the phone. Number one, you can port in your numbers. Absolutely, that's very easy to do, and there's a whole process and a method to do that. You can do that in bulk or you can do individuals. As for extension dialing, you can keep it. There is some configuration that has to be put in place, and that's where my engineer would step in and show you and go through the planning process on how to actually enact that with the Cloud PBX. And for the rest, we'd have to have a follow-up call with him to discuss the rest of your questions.
Okay. Another question from Bob Hunt again. Are PSTN services set up for 1 year, 3 years, or month-to-month contracts?
That's a great question, Bob. The PSTN services for calling are established on a month-to-month basis. So it's not something where you have to subscribe for years on end. You can go from domestic calling plans for 3 to 4 months and then switch to an international calling plan. Generally, with enterprise agreements, they establish a low watermark of so many different domestic calling plans, and then they add onto that the international, or they swap them out.
Thank you, Scott. There's one more question from again. Can Microsoft provided PSTN connection be terminated on-site, or is it any accessible via a public internet connection? If the Microsoft recommend PSTN connection can be terminated on-site, how does that impact our configuration of the Office 365 E5 VoIP service at our HQ location?
Okay. Rather long question, so I'm going to do my best to answer from what I can tell. So you're asking is my connection for PSTN services regulated to my particular location itself, or does it go over the internet? The answer is twofold. It can be both. So it does support, because it's a Cloud PBX, it does transmit services over the internet. Now, if you would like to tunnel specifically to Office 365 and control that allows you a greater level of quality control for your organization that is recommended. And again, those would go into planning out how your organization, how many users you want to utilize for the calling plans, and how you would want it structured from an architectural perspective. There are many ways to make this happen. It's just determined by the needs of your specific organization.
Okay, thank you, Scott. There's another question from Michelle Masak. Does Office 365 Gov G3 user CSS include Azure Rights Management with email encryption feature?
So Azure Rights Management would be an add-on feature for the Azure Rights component. There is a rights management feature part of Office 365. It's a light version. It's not identical to Azure Rights Management that's full-blown, that's found in the EM plus S suite or the SPE, the Secure Productivity Enterprise. It's not the same, but it is similar. But that would be an add-on.
Thank you, Scott. I've got another question from Randy Hutton. What if the licenses are purchased through an EA?
All right. If the licenses are purchased through an EA, so the licenses can, when you step up from an enterprise agreement from an E3 level or any, the enterprise levels of Office 365, and you are adding the E5 feature set, that would require a supplemental CPS and would require to go through the Microsoft licensing desk to add it to your agreement so you can get the actual functionality of E5. Above and beyond the PSTN calling features, those you would purchase through your licensing desk as well to at least add an initial quantity onto your agreement, and you would go from there.
Okay. Thank you, Scott. There are a couple of questions from Peter Daza. He's asking, can this integrate with existing IP desk phones like Cisco or Avaya? Also, can it provide IVR function?
Okay. So your question, yes, it can integrate. It does require some, it does depend on the model of the phone itself and the configuration of what Cisco Call Manager you're utilizing, the willingness to put and stand up another VM in your infrastructure. Those, again, will require an engineer to actually sit down and look at your exact infrastructure to see the plugins and the services that would be needed. But yes, ultimately the answer is yes, they can.
Thank you so much, Scott. I think I've got another couple of questions. How do we manage porting of the main number?
The porting of the name number is actually done straight to the Office 365 portal, and there's on Office 365's website, inside the portal, it actually walks you through. There's 3 main ways that it outlines to port in a number. The porting in can handle single number, it can port in multiple, up to 50 to 100 blocks, or 100 plus blocks of numbers at a given time. And it's just a standard procedure, very, very similar to the way of porting a cell phone number, for instance, from AT&T to Verizon. It's a very similar process.
Okay. Thank you, Scott. Another question from Bob Hunt again. Can we get a name, number, or email contact for technical questions regarding E5 implementation? Absolutely.
I'm more than happy to give my own. My name is Scott Newman. My email is snewman, Newmann, and it's at onpointe.com, ENPOINTE.com. And if you'd like, my phone number is 310-337-4593. Again, 310-337-4593.
Thank you so much, Scott. I've got one last question, again from Bob Hunt.
Okay.
Are E911 and other charges reflected in the per seat costs?
Yes, E911 is included in the E5 Cloud PBX license. There are no additional charges for those. And the taxes There is some details on the tax code that I can send over if desired. You're free to send me an email, and I'd be more than happy to pass that along. But overall, yes, the charges are included.
Thank you so much, Scott. I cannot see any more questions at the moment, but if you still have any more questions, you can directly email us at amyc@onpoint.com, and I will have them answered for you from Scott. Thank you so much, Scott, for a great presentation, and thank you all for joining in today. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.